Riftbound is a brand new trading card game set in the League of Legends universe, where you build a deck around a champion legend of your choice and fight for control over battlefields. Riftbound is easy to learn, fun to play, and rewarding to master. This video will teach you how to play Riftbound in less than 15 minutes. The goal of Riftbound is to score 8 points by taking and holding control of battlefields. Riftbound can be played either in a 1v1 or a variety of multiplayer methods, but this video will focus on the 1v1 game. To play Riftbound, you will need a 40-card main deck built around a champion legend of your choice, a deck of 12 rune cards, and 3 different battlefield cards. Your champion legend is the central pillar of your Riftbound deck. Champion legend cards are easily identifiable by the word legend in the middle left of the card. They have special abilities that are always active in the game, and they cannot be interacted with or destroyed. They also determine everything about how you'll construct your deck, from its strategy to the domains or colors you can use in your deck. Domains are the factions of Riftbound. There are 6 domains, each with an opposite: Fury and Calm, Mind and Body, and Order and Chaos. Each domain has a distinct identity and flavorful gameplay style affiliated with it. Your deck can only contain cards of your champion legend's domains. For instance, an Ari Nine-Tailed Fox deck can only run green Calm cards and blue Mind cards. In addition to your champion legend, your main deck must also contain at least one champion unit that corresponds with your legend. In other words, if your deck's champion legend is Ari Nine-Tailed Fox, then your 40-card deck must contain at least one copy of an Ari champion unit card. The other 39 cards in your main deck consist of units, gears, and spells. Each of these card types serve very different roles. Units are your means of conquering battlefields and scoring points. Unit cards have a set of identifying tags and a number denoting its might, which is used for both the unit's attack power and health. They also have a cost, both in energy and power, but we will get into that later. Much like unit cards, gear cards stick around until they're used up or removed and provide you or your units some form of benefit. They support units, but do not conquer battlefields. Spells have a one-time effect and go to the trash when they resolve. Like units, they have a cost in the top left. All spells have an ability, and many have a keyword that stipulates the timing window when you can play them. You may have a maximum of 3 copies of any specific card in your main deck, including 3 copies of your legend's signature spell. Your rune deck, on the other hand, does not have a 3-copy restriction. You can run as many of the same rune as you'd like, provided your rune deck contains exactly 12 cards total. Maybe your Ari deck has more green cards in it than blue cards, so you decide to run 7 Calm runes and only 5 Mind runes. The last thing you'll need to play is a set of 3 different battlefields. There are many battlefields to choose from in Riftbound, but some of these will fit the game plan of your champion legend better than others. Once you have your champion, legend, your decks, and your battlefields locked in, you're ready to queue up to the Rift. Pre-game setup. To set up your board, first remove a champion unit from your deck and put it in the upper right of your board, which is referred to as the champion zone. This is your chosen champion. To the left of your champion unit, put your champion legend. Your chosen champion is always available for you to play once you have the requisite runes to pay for it. If it dies, though, it will go to the trash rather than back to the champion zone, unlike some other card games. Ahem. To the left of your champion legend is your base. Your base is an area you always control and is where you play out your gear and your units when they're not vying for control of battlefields. Your opponent cannot move into your base, and you cannot move into your opponent's base. Below your champions, place your main deck. Next to it will be your trash, where cards go when they're used or killed. Place your rune deck in the lower left-hand corner of your board. To the right of your rune deck, you'll place the runes you accumulate throughout the game. Finally, you and your opponent will each choose one battlefield from among the 3 you each brought to play with. If you're just playing one game, you'll pick your battlefield randomly. If you're playing best 2 out of 3, then you'll get to pick whichever of your 3 battlefields you'll like. But once you've chosen a battlefield, you can't pick it again for future games in the match. You and your opponent will simultaneously reveal the battlefields you've selected side by side in between your 2 boards. The last thing you'll do before you start playing is determine who goes first. You can decide this by using any random method like rolling dice or flipping coins. Once you have a starting player, you're ready to draw your opening hands and begin your game of Riftbound. Playing Riftbound. At the start of the game, each player draws 4 cards from their main deck. This is your starting hand. If you don't like the cards in your hand, you may have an opportunity to take a single mulligan. To mulligan, choose up to 2 cards from your hand to recycle or put on the bottom of your deck. You then draw a replacement card for each card you recycled. After mulligans, it's time for the first player to start their turn. Each turn has 2 parts with different phases. At the start of each turn is a set of phases called A, B, C, D. Awaken, Beginning, Channel, and Draw. After these phases will be the action phase, where most of the game is played, but let's go over A, B, C, D first. In the Awaken phase, ready all cards you have in play. Cards in Riftbound can either be ready or exhausted. Ready cards can be used for actions. Most of the time, taking an action with a ready card leaves it exhausted afterward. In the beginning phase, check to see if you score any points. You'll score 1 point for each battlefield you hold. I'll explain how you gain control of battlefields shortly. The channel phase provides you with runes from your rune deck. To channel, put the top 2 cards of your rune deck into play ready. On the second player's first turn only, they channel 3 runes instead of 2 in order to make up for going second. In the draw phase, draw a card from your main deck and add it to your hand. And yes, even the starting player draws on their first turn. After your ABCDs, it's time for the action phase. During the action phase, you may play cards, activate abilities, and move units to different areas. You may do as many of these actions as you want in any order, provided you have the resources for them. Let's look at how you play cards first. You may play cards either from your hand or your champion zone. To play a card, you must exhaust runes equal to the energy cost in the top left corner of your card. You may use any color runes to pay for a card's energy cost. Many cards have a power cost in addition to their energy costs. Power is noted by the number of rune symbols below the energy cost. Power costs do not add the total energy you must spend. Rather, a card's power describes how many runes of the matching type you must recycle or put back on the bottom of the rune deck in order to play the card. For example, to play Caitlyn Patrolling, you must exhaust 3 total runes and recycle a calm rune. You are allowed to recycle an exhausted rune to pay for a power cost, and you may recycle one that you used to pay for the card's energy cost. Please note that some abilities also have a power cost, so keep an eye open for these symbols. You may play a unit to any area you control. Your base is always available to play units too, but you may deploy a unit to any battlefield where you already have units. This is a great way to reinforce a battlefield, making it harder for your opponent to win it back. When you play a unit, it enters exhausted. Gear gets played to your base. Unlike units, gear enters ready unless it says otherwise on the card. Spells have different timing windows depending on their keywords. If a spell does not have a keyword, it can only be played on the action phase of your turn outside of showdowns. Action spells may be played not only during your turn, but also at the start of showdowns, either yours or your opponent's. In contrast, reactions have a much wider timing window. You may play a reaction at any time you have priority, on your turn, during showdowns, and in response to another action. Reactions are often at their best during a chain. What is a chain? Well, anytime you play a card, activate an ability, or begin a showdown, it starts a chain. Most chains provide players with the opportunity to use reaction cards and abilities. When both players decline to add any more actions, the chain then resolves in reverse order. You start with the latest addition to the chain and end with the earliest. If you start a chain by playing a permanent card, that is, a unit or gear, the chain resolves immediately. In other words, no player may react to a permanent card being played. The most exciting action you can take on your action phase is moving your units. You may move as many units as you'd like within a single action, provided they all have the same valid destination. Only ready units may move, and moving a unit exhausts it. Whenever you move a unit to a battlefield, a showdown begins. Showdowns determine ownership over a battlefield. A showdown often involves combat, but only if a battlefield is contested. Let's take a look at 2 different showdowns to see how they play out: a non-combat showdown and a combat showdown. We'll begin by showing you a non-combat showdown. If there are no units contesting a battlefield, the showdown is a non-combat showdown. Players are now able to take turns using action abilities or playing action cards until both pass. In this example, I move my Assault Poro onto the empty battlefield. Since this is not a combat showdown, my Poro's assault ability will not trigger, and I pass priority to my opponent after playing no action cards. My opponent responds with a Hex Tech Ray, hoping to kill my Poro before I successfully score a point. I react with a Discipline, increasing my Poro's might before the Hextech Ray resolves. We both pass priority and the chain resolves, with the last spell being played resolving first. My Poro, now with 4 might, survives the Hextech Ray. With no further actions, I claim the battlefield and a point. Please note, damage does not heal at the end of non-combat showdowns. It only heals at the end of combat and end of turn. Now let's look at a combat showdown, which occurs if the battlefield is contested. In this example, I move my Assault Poro onto a battlefield my opponent controls with their unit, Stalwart Poro. Since the battlefield is now contested, combat begins. The first step in combat is to determine who the attackers are and who the defenders are. Since I moved into the battlefield, I am the attacker. Since my opponent was in control of the battlefield at the beginning of the showdown, they are the defenders. Attackers always have priority first in showdowns. Now that we have our roles, trigger any when attacking, then when defending effects, and add them to the chain. My Poro has an assault trigger, which will bring its might up to 3. My opponent has a shield trigger, bringing their might up to 3. If we ended combat here, both my 3 might assault Poro and my opponent's 3 might stalwart Poro would die. My opponent would lose control of the battlefield. I would score no points, and all damage units everywhere would be healed. But let's assume my opponent has a response. I pass priority to my opponent, and they respond by playing Hextech Ray. Much like a non-combat showdown, if I had no response, my Poro would die. I would gain no points, and my opponent would maintain control of the battlefield. I will respond to my opponent's Hextech Ray, however. I play Defy, countering my opponent's Hextech Ray, then pass priority. My opponent passes back to me, and I play Discipline, and we both pass. Now we resolve the chain. Remember, chains are resolved, first one in, last one out. My Poro will gain 2 might up to 5, and my Defy will counter the Hextech Ray. With no damage marked and 5 might, my Poro defeats my opponent's Poro, gains control of the battlefield, damage is then healed, and I score a point. As you can see, combat is relatively easy. Just be sure to pay attention to timing restrictions on the cards you're playing. At the end of a showdown, units heal and the active player returns to their action phase and may continue to take any actions available to them, including more unit movement and potentially more showdowns. While we won't be covering every keyword, as most are self-explanatory, I would like to highlight one in particular: Hidden. Hidden is a keyword found on units, gear, and spells. A card with Hidden can be played normally for its cost like any other card in Riftbound. However, Hidden gives you another option. If you control a battlefield, you may recycle 1 rune of any color to put that card face down to the battlefield you control. If you do, you can play a card later for free as a reaction. This is incredibly powerful, but comes with some stipulations. The hidden card can only be played, or target units, at the battlefield where it was hidden. You may only hide 1 card per battlefield you control, and if you ever lose control of a battlefield, you must trash the card that you have hidden there. At the end of the turn, heal all units, resolve any end of turn effects, then pass to the next player in turn order. One last thing to note about scoring. The first 7 points you score can be achieved through any combination of conquering and holding bases throughout the game, but the final 8th point cannot be scored by conquering a single battlefield. In order to score your 8th point, you must do one of 2 things. Conquer both battlefields, as in conquer 1 battlefield while you already hold the other. Hold a single battlefield until the beginning phase of your next turn. Conquering 1 battlefield while your opponent controls the other does not win you the 8th point. So you're gonna have to keep fighting. If you have 7 points and you would score a point for conquering, instead draw a card. This mechanic gives you the tools you need to take the win. And there you have it, everything you need to know to shuffle up and play a game of Riftbound. If you get stuck while you play, remember 3 things. Start your turn with A, B, C, D. Using a card exhausts a card, and if you forget what a card does, reading the card explains the card. You can also find the complete rules in the link below. Want to see a turn of Riftbound play out? What about a whole game? Remember, our episode of Shuffle Up and Riftbound is live now. It features every mechanic, card, and champion shown in this video played in a real game scenario. Give it a watch. I hope very much this video has been of some help to you. You can help me out greatly just by sharing this video with a friend, or leaving a comment, or just watching another video, whether it is our full Shuffle Up and Play episode of Riftbound or another from our library. Would you like to see more Riftbound videos on this channel? Let me know in the comments below.